Hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity. We are broadcasting live from our studio right here in Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I'm so glad you're here. We have another fantastic show for you today, and I'm joined by my amazing co host, Sheila Applegate. Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone.
Hey, again, as I said before, we have another fantastic topic and show for you. Um, Sheila, today's topic is kind of important. It's kind of like, it's all, it revolves around COVID, right?
Mhm.
And how we had to go through that time, changing the paradigm, even temporarily, around
Mhm.
how we work, right? And I think people discovered, remote work for the first time. There's a lot of Americans that did so, and I'm amazed that in this day and age, like today in 2023, how long ago that feels like
Right?
now.
It was a different lifetime.
I know it's like, just the shutdowns,
Mhm.
I know the difficulties of people who had to homeschool, for the
Mhm.
first time, especially their little ones, right? Where they
Mhm.
need so much, activity and attention and, and social kinds of things, like being
Right.
around other kids that
Mhm.
kinda all kinda, like, went away for about 2 years, and so, I sometimes have to pinch myself around it because it just doesn't seem, like, real, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so we're gonna talk about that today. Of course, before we get started, we wanna remind you that, listen, you are part of this conversation. We want your questions, your comments, your thoughts. I'll be posting some questions to our audience that you can answer online. Also, let us know where you are listening from. If anywhere in the world, just post, hey, I'm listening in from Canada or UK or wherever, because we want to know. Um, I think I wanted to start today's conversation with a article from Pew. I love Pew Research Center. It's like a smorgasbord of fascinating information, Sheila. Sheila, you know how
Mhm.
much I love the stats and all that
You do like stats. That is a
kind of And this article, which talks about, and I picked this article specifically because it was right still, we're still in the tail end of COVID-19, the pandemic. And things were happening here in America where, you know, the current president had done some things to try to get us moving, away from, just being locked up and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And this article it begins with this statement. It says nearly 2 years into the COVID-19 pandemic, roughly 6 in 10 U.S. workers who said their jobs can mainly be done from home are working from home all or most of the time. The vast majority of these workers say that they were working from home even before the Omicron variant started to spread in the United States. And this is according to their Pew Research study. Now, interesting enough, this marked a decline from October 2020. So from this time in 2022, which was February, to before that in October of 2020, it was a decline. And when 71% of those with jobs that could be done from home were working from home all or most of the time. So it was about a 10% decrease. It was 83% previously. He says, but it's still much higher than the 23% who say they teleworked frequently before the corona outbreak. So it's interesting to know that, um people were already working from home before this, It
Mhm.
went up slightly in the middle of the pandemic itself, where, like I said, 83% of people who could work from home were working from home.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that put a lot of stress on people. Um, do you remember, like, either your experience, Sheila, or of course you remember your experience, or people who were talking about, hey, I've got to work from home now and it's kind of new?
Well, I've been working from home for 30 years,
Yeah,
so it did
absolutely.
not affect me, and my kids were older. Of course, there were people that were stressed, and I was, writing some articles about how to support the kids during that time. What's fascinating to me is, um, that this is not, because we're talking about COVID, but we're really not talking about COVID anymore.
Right,
I think so many
right.
people are sick of talking about COVID, but
Exactly.
but I think that the change is here for good. Like it's like we're in a new paradigm. And what I'm hearing now, and even noticing, let me start with what I'm noticing. See, by working from home all these years, I was able to adjust my schedule. So I always went to the grocery store when it was empty and did all
Right,
my errands when nobody was there, no
right.
lines, a life of no lines. But that's blurred now. There aren't those,
Mm,
I can't count on the fact that if I go midweek during the hours of 9 to 5, that everything's going to be, you know, empty, because it's
right.
much smoothed out. And then I've known of CEOs who are like, I don't want to do the commute anymore. I like working from
Yeah,
home, even if
yeah.
they were partly working from home before. So more and more people working, I think, choosing that. And it made me think that we are changing paradigms here. It's better for the environment. There's so many advantages and disadvantages to making this a long-term choice. So that's what I'm thinking about today.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I'd say I was working from home about, I'd say 60% of the time.
Mhm.
There would be times in which I did have to go in to, for certain meetings, or certain projects where it was easier to relay information to my team by being there in person and us
Mhm.
guiding them through certain exercises where other people could see what I was doing at the same time in terms of that.
Mhm.
Um, so when we went to 100%, it wasn't that much of a change.
Mhm.
I did see that for other people, it was like very stressful
Mhm.
because, especially, older workers that had never really worked from home. They, part of their routine was getting up, doing that commute, going in
Mhm.
and staying there, and that's what their norm was. And it's like, now this was a completely different thing, and how am I going to do all this? And how, they were not familiar with the technology and
Right.
and all that, which was another thing, right? I mean, things that you and
Mhm.
I have probably been using for years, like
Right.
Zoom and other tools of teleconferencing and video conferencing and doing telework, they were not familiar with at all.
Mhm.
And so you got the learning curve that was there,
Right. Right.
you
And
know.
now, and now I feel like the initial learning curve is over, and as a collective, we're sort of deciding what way do we want to go. I think a lot of businesses, from what I've heard, kind of extended and never made a final decision.
Right.
So it's always like, well, we might be doing, we might be, we're now out for another 6 months. But maybe it's time for us to, like, okay, reevaluate for ourselves, both
Right.
workers and employees, to say, what works and what are the nuances of making a shift where more people are not going into a work office.
What were was there any adjustments for you even working from home? I know for me, I had the one, it wasn't necessarily an adjustment, but it was more like I had to teach people who were not familiar with using like some of the tools and all that. Was that the same for
Mm,
you?
no, it
No.
really wasn't.
Yeah.
I had actually, it's funny because I had not been doing many in-person clients. I have an office, with a door at my home.
Mhm, mhm.
So there is a separate space, but I had just launched this, global, or at least first starting in the United States, tour of a workshop, in which I would channel, and so I had, set up to travel all over the place right before. Like,
Right.
I had launched this for a year of, going around the country with this workshop and presentation, and then I had made it to California for the first one, came back, was set to go out on the next one when it shut down. So it didn't work. That part,
Uh,
that was like, okay, that was my year. Now what am I doing? But as far as the teaching people, not so much. That's already had been, I mean, I guess there was some people, but really I was doing a lot online at
mhm,
that point.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I remember I think one big lesson that I had to learn during that time was I had to really let go, because I had been working on a major project that was all in person, traveling around the country, putting on some certain events, and COVID hit, and it was like,
Right.
stop. All that stopped, and then it was, well, this thing might not last that long. And then so it was stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And then I had to basically say, okay, I'm moving away from this. We're just gonna
Mhm.
go do
Right.
what we
Let it
do
go.
and not worry about it. When we come back, I think the direction that we should probably go in is maybe talk about like um our favorite and least favorite things around remote work, because I think that will lead us into some other topics where where for today, like where we are today with all of this,
Mhm.
and where can we go in the future, because I think that the pandemic changed the game.
Mhm.
I think it really did, and I think that people um um who didn't know about the benefits of doing remote work are like, wow, this is kind of cool. I can
Right.
work in my PJs.
Mhm.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more with This Morning with Soulivity. Hey there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So, how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoyed the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life. And welcome back to This Morning with Soulivity. This is Brian Johnson, and I have my beautiful co-host Sheila Applegate on with me. And we are talking about how to master the art of working from home. And we talked a little bit about how we got here, right? I mean, there's a lot of Americans that were already working from home, but during the pandemic, it just changed the game. And now, because of that, there's a lot of you out there that may be working from home and maybe struggling. And there may be some of you who are thinking about doing it, but are not sure how to do it. So, Sheila, I mean, what's your favorite things? I mean, and that's a song. These are a
Few of you.
few of my favorite things. Yeah, what are some of your favorite things about working from home?
My favorite is being able to control my own schedule, and I know that's not true for everyone, but
Yeah.
maybe salaried people, even if you're working for an employer, and I'm sure to some degree, because I've seen other people working from home that are not salaried, but, yeah, I really like the fact that I can do my laundry while I'm working, I can control my
Yeah.
schedule, and it allowed me to get more in tune with my own waves of when I'm productive, when I'm not. It doesn't have to fit this 9 to 5 form that we have indoctrinated our world with, right? Sometimes I
Yeah.
get up in the middle of the night and I write,
Yeah.
and that's part of my work. And other times, like yes, the last couple days, I told everyone yesterday I had gone to the Lilac Fest the day before. Yesterday, I went for a 2-hour hike in the middle of the day because I can adjust and, just get my tasks done. So I think if you're out there and you have flexibility in your hours that you work, that's the best thing ever, you know?
I completely agree. I think that's my favorite thing in part, that my time becomes my own, especially
Mhm.
especially when you own your own business. So those of you who are out there that are entrepreneurs, that maybe not that don't have a brick and mortar kind of establishment, being able to just like for me, waking up early, I'm able to, do some exercise, I can meditate, I can get prepared. Um, if time opens up in the middle of the day, like you were saying, Sheila, I can go out and take a walk. Um,
Mhm.
I can be doing other things. I can at least start to do some other things that are like normal, like you said, like laundry is a big thing.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, well, I can throw a couple of loads in the washer and attend this meeting. And then when the meeting is over, I can put it in the dryer and that kind of thing. And
Right.
then
Right.
I get so much more done over that period of time, right?
Right.
And so I think that that's in alignment with what both you and I do, right? Where we
Mhm.
need that space to be led to do what we need to do those days, even if we have meetings set, right?
Right. Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
And then yeah, I think that's great. And I think even for people who are not entrepreneurs, but they're employed, it does give you that option to do all those things, to do your laundry while you're working and to,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and or connect with friends, right?
Right, I was just thinking that, like, instead of going to the water cooler at break, you call your mom,
Yeah,
or your friend. No, my
which
kids call me, but
which I do, you know how much I love my mom. And that kind of thing. And I think too that it kind of breaks us out of that, oh, well, if I don't get it done between 9 to 5, um, you feel let down, right?
Right. Yeah, and when because I have been doing this for so long, I raised my kids, from a young age through that, so I was able to work a full-time job and be with them almost all the time when they were, you know, not outside of the house or at least close to
Wow.
them, right? So I could do my sessions while they were in the school day.
Mhm.
I mean, I did
Mhm.
have a daycare in the earlier days, but
Of course.
yeah, and then be there and not miss anything, right? If there was something to go to
Yeah.
at school or yeah,
Yeah.
fitting your
Yeah.
doctor's appointments in is easier, it yeah. And then at other times I'm like, "Oh, I wish I could take a half day to go to the doctor,"
Which leads me to my other question. What's the least favorite thing for you?
I think the least favorite thing for me, and I think this is important for everyone, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, and even probably more important if you're not, but I overwork or judge
Oh my
myself.
god.
Even after 30 years, I can sometimes find myself calculating in my head to make sure that I put in 40 hours of like solid I'm focused on work time, even though
Mhm.
I know that I'm working in and out of it all the time.
Right.
But I think that's even more important for people who have are employed by someone else because I think we really need to focus, and we can do that a little later in the show, on how to create a system where because people are working from home, they're not being overused.
Mhm. 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 I think mine gosh, we're so in point on each other because I think to all the years that I've worked remotely, that's the one thing too, right? So like I said, I'll get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and I'll start my day, but then something will come up like late in the day and I'm like, oh, I got to get this done before tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
And I'll work until 8 or 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And then now I'm jacked up for the rest of the week because now I'm off my schedule, right?
Mhm.
Um, which is a danger, right? Which is a thing that you kind of have to look out for. You really have to hold yourself accountable. I think that that's the least favorite kind of thing to a certain
Mhm.
degree, where you have to be very structured. You have to use the tools that you have at your disposal to make sure that you're on time to like appointments and meetings, and you have to keep all that in order. When you're working from a work site, it's a little easier because that's all you're focused on, right?
Right. Right.
And that you're not like, oh well, I've got this laundry to do,
Right.
or whatever. I
This
will
is
say,
where ADD is
I
now a
know,
superpower, right?
right,
I can do 6 things at once.
right. I am Superwoman. Um, um, I mean, where do you think we go from here, Sheila? I mean, the pandemic just, I think, was a game changer and enlightened a lot of people of what was possible
Mhm.
in terms of work. I think it's probably one of the reasons why here in America the economy is running so hot. I mean, outside of the supply chain kinds of things that are
Mhm.
affecting inflation and that kind of deal, where we do need people actually physically at work sites moving things from back and forth. But outside of that, I mean, things haven't missed a beat really, right?
Yeah, I think it's gone fairly smoothly.
Yeah.
Well, no, you know what? I think as a collective, it's gone smoothly. But
Yeah.
I think this is why I got really excited about this topic
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
is because I think that I would I was in the car. I always remember when I have thoughts that are important, right? I was in
Right,
the car, know
right,
exactly where I was on the road,
right.
and I was thinking about socializing in work, and how people really spent a lot of their time with with colleagues, right? We talk about the work
Yeah,
family, work
yeah,
husband, work wife,
yeah,
and
yeah,
this
yeah.
idea that that became our community. And so that community is being disrupted in a lot of situations.
Mhm.
And I was like, but maybe that was important. And then I had this thought. I'm like, wait, No, it's gonna I actually thought, well, this is a preparation because AI is coming, and I think our whole work system is gonna change in a not that distant future, so we're preparing right now. We
Hmm.
get to socialize with the people we want to socialize with
Right.
and make community now. There's more time to make community with who we resonate beyond our identity as an employee.
Right.
At the same time, I do think things have to be put in place for some camaraderie in the employee system because, like I said, I think that there's a lot of room here if we don't catch it, for employees to really take advantage of this situation because people are paying for, their toilet paper, their,
Right.
like, their electricity all day. Like, there should be compensation for these things. Um, having a work phone so that they can turn it off, a work computer so that it can be turned off if you have an employee,
Right.
and creating social events for people to get to know each other.
I like that. I like that where again, if it, I think that you're right here, right? Because the the premise was you're just transplanting the work at office experience home, right? You're just bringing
Mhm.
that home, but a lot of companies didn't really do that, right?
Right.
Especially the like the compensation part of it, which is important, right?
Mhm.
Because working from home, there is expenses and that kind of thing. Most people do not have their own business when they're an employee, so they're not like writing that stuff off
Exactly.
and all
Right.
that they need to be compensated for all those kind of things. So the idea was, hey, here's a computer, and here's some new tools on your work computer that you need to use to connect in, and okay, good luck. And if we're going to do this, it's true. There's the social aspect of work.
Mhm.
There's the collab, like I think that there needs to be resources on how to collaborate with people when you're
Mhm.
working remotely, right? How do you, because
Right.
there's a specific way that you do that makes it more fun, right? And because just to let people know, I mean, even when I was working for companies, there was times that I worked with people all over the world, and so we would have to video conference with each other. Well, you had to make that interesting, or people wouldn't show up.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
the paradigm has to change. What are some of the other things that you're thinking about around, like?
That I think need to be addressed. Well, first of all,
Yeah.
I think it's more important than ever to get unions back up and running.
Yeah.
Because by separating employees out, it's even harder for them to feel like a force, um,
Right.
a collaborative force that is able to speak up for themselves.
Right.
And so to put that structure back in and help people realize how it easily this separation could lead to misuse of employees,
Mhm. Mhm.
and so to become that one voice and to do things then separate. I think sometimes maybe unions have events that are separate than the business unions,
Mhm.
that the employee or the business events that the employees are creating for them. So that gives another free space. And then one of the things I noticed when COVID first hit and people were home, people could travel um, from their home, and because you can then, if you can work remotely, one of the advantages is you can travel and work remotely from anywhere.
Mhm.
But as it went into longer terms, I heard of people having issues with taxes. So because the taxes aren't the same in every state,
Mhm.
um, if you change states or change countries, it was an issue. So I think that it would be important for the country to get organized with something to do, so that people could travel within the states if they were working from home and not have that be a a tax issue.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, these are so good. These are all great,
I
Sheila.
think about these things.
Yeah, I mean, I like, I think for a lot of companies, especially people who work for very large businesses, that, working in the office, it was already a situation where, from what we know in terms of statistics and that kind of thing, that the divide within companies between uh, people who are being compensated very, very well, who are at the top, as opposed to people who were in lower middle management or even lower, just, more administrative or analytical kind of jobs, that they weren't getting the support that they
Mhm.
needed to work on any consistent basis. People were feeling isolated. Some even corporate policies would pit employee against employee,
Right, yeah.
like laws around like salaries and that kind of thing, where you can't
Mhm.
talk about your salary with anyone else, which makes no sense. I mean, we do it
Right.
anyway, for a most part. And then the crackdown on unions, which were really about making sure that employees had advocates outside, I'm going to say that,
Right.
outside of the corporate entity. It
Mhm.
does not work when you have advocates that are inside, that work for the company, that are supposed to advocate for you. At the end of
Right.
the day, their allegiance is going to be to the company.
Or to
And
their self, right?
or
Their
their
job,
self. Right,
keeping
right,
their job.
exactly. And so that even became more prevalent, when you work remotely,
Right.
because now it's all about, like, what do I do? What's the information? Again, this feeling of isolation, that's there,
Yeah.
that exists to a certain degree when you're working in the office, but at least there's people there that are maybe going through the same thing you are, and you can
Mhm.
kind of talk with them and have some type of camaraderie with them. It's just
Right.
different. And so I think I love all those points, Sheila. I mean, I think all those are very, very necessary, to kind of, if we're going to do this, um let's really think about that. And if you're an entrepreneur owning your own business, how are you going to set up your business, especially if it's a remote thing, where you're making sure that everybody feels loved, needed, and wanted in your organization?
Right. And even if you're not, if you're a CEO, same thing. Now we have to
Right.
focus on this, right? If you're
Exactly.
CEO of a large company, this is now some of the work that we have to do as a company to make it. Yeah.
I think sometimes there's that huge disconnect, right, between CEOs and their employees, including their senior management, because it's
Mhm.
a different life. I mean,
Right.
nowadays the wealth gap between CEOs and everybody else is so vast.
Right. It's like they're living in different worlds.
Yeah, I mean, and they are. I mean, they
Mhm.
literally are. They don't do the same things that we do on a
Right.
daily basis. And yeah, a lot of they're working, but it's a different type of work. If they decide that they want to take some time off, they take it off, right? And
Mhm.
who's going to question them? They're the boss. I mean, yeah, they
Right.
have to report to a board, but as long as the company's making money, right? And
Right.
so these things are very important for CEOs, as you said, to know and to get out in front of, right?
Mhm. Right.
For the betterment of everyone.
Yeah.
Maybe this is more about like a cultural kind of change, right?
That's what I think it is. I think it is a cultural change. And, unions, I think, are coming back even in other, um, people where they are working in person. I think it's just already a trend to redistribute the I wanted to say the wealth, but it's just the respect too, right?
Exactly. 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 Why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll kind of go through some tips for everyone, If you're working from home, these will be valuable. If you're learning to work from home, these will also be valuable. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. Found some great tips from PCMag.com. This article called 20 Tips for Working from Home. Recent article from 2023, and we'll make sure that we get this into our chat so that you guys can take a look at that as well. Really good articles. Really good tips on this one. And I'm going to go through some of these with Sheila and ask her, hey, is this really true or not? And so the first one is maintain regular hours. Set a schedule and stick to it most of the time. Having clear guidelines for when to work and when to call it a day helps many remote workers maintain a work-life balance. So what say you?
I say that that is true, especially if you're working for an employee or getting, paid by the hour. And over the years, I've moved away from that as I got to know myself. I think earlier the structure of the kids' schedule helped keep me there. Now I've really enjoyed learning just how I want to do the flow and getting to know my own body, my own way of being. So for the most part, yes. And maybe there's something more.
Oh, cool. The next one is one thing that I try to do on a regular basis, and that is create a morning routine. Deciding you'll sit down at your desk and start work at a certain time is one thing. Creating a routine that guides you into the chair is another. What do you think, Sheila?
I
Yeah.
I for the most part, yes. I definitely have my get up in the morning and meditate, get some exercise or motion in and then come. And at the same time, there's some mornings where I just go right to the computer and then I go take my morning break a little later and do
Right,
that a little later. So
right.
yes,
It's like
and maybe not.
it's like, I think I'll change out of my PJs at 11
Right.
instead of
It's
10:30.
not uncommon for me to have put in many hours of work and then take my shower at 11 in the morning.
Hey, which is a beautiful thing. You have plenty of hot water, don't have to worry about it. Um, I resemble that remark. The next one is, and this I think this is one that's very important. With the people in your space. Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's a little quote that says, "You're a remote worker, not the house manager." Yeah, this is true. I know there are times at which me and my wife are working remotely at the same time. Um, this was very true years ago when we both were working remotely, and we had to really set clear boundaries about like even talking to each other during the day. How about you, Sheila?
Okay, so now Zach and I have been working remotely together for 10 years in the same space. We have to set boundaries on topics we talk about, maybe. Or like if I'm at the computer working and he peeks in, if he sees me typing away, he won't say anything. So yeah,
Sure.
there's some of that for sure. And any topic that could really derail us into
Right.
it, because we work like our work overlaps too. So that could even be a creative topic for work. But if one person's trying to get something done, yeah, we have to do that. But as far as boundaries, I set really strict boundaries. Since I was young, the kids were young.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
they were home during a session,
Mhm.
because a session is a session, you do
Oh,
not
yeah.
no noise, nothing unless the house is on fire. And I even trained my dog for sessions to be quiet. If clients came through my work door, Sammy didn't bark. We would put Sammy in his cave, which was really a cage, but we called it a cave.
Right.
And he would go in his cave and he would work with me. He knew he had to go to work. But if someone came in the other door, he jumped all over and barked and, it was
Right,
crazy.
right,
So
of course.
it's a work of art to keep yourself in your space sacred when you're working that way.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I love the fact that we're calling this master the art of working from home, right?
Right. It
Because
is an
it
art.
really is an art.
Yeah.
There's nuances and there's certain things. It's just not like all analytical where you have to have this is a creative, you have to create your own creative way of working from home effectively, right? That's
Right.
key, effectively. Because you can work from home, but if you're not
Right.
getting anything done and progressing, then it's, not really, it really doesn't work at that point.
Right.
Another one, and these next two are actually kind of interrelated. The first one is schedule breaks, especially if you work for an organization or you're
Right.
right. And then the next one is take breaks in their entirety, right? So if you're
Yeah.
going to schedule a break and it's a 15-minute break, take the whole 15 minutes
Right.
doing nothing, away from your computer and
Right.
that kind
And
of
get
stuff.
outside if you can,
Yes,
depending on the day.
Lord,
You do
yes.
need to get outside and you need to move your body during the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And especially like things like lunch. I think that um, Americans in general, Westerners outside of Europe, they take their lunch at their desk. So they're
Mm,
eating and working at the same time.
right.
There's many, many studies, just go Google them, that talk about the fact that when you do that, the nutritional value of the food that you're eating does not go into your body effectively.
Mhm.
That you're still in work mode, so you're not like first and foremost enjoying the food that you have to eat,
Mhm.
right? And that your body doesn't go into, oh, I'm eating now, so I need to go into digestive mode, right?
Right.
And really digest this food, create whatever the chemicals are to break down the food and all that kind of stuff. And so get away. If you have an hour lunch, eat your lunch, even if it means you have to either go outside or go away from your computer into another room. Don't take your phone, don't check your email,
Right.
just eat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm looking for another good one here. Well, you already leave home, right?
Mhm.
Which you just said, get out of the house and move your body. Your body needs blood circulation and fresh air and natural light. That's vitamin D, by the way. That's good stuff for you.
Mhm.
Here's we'll do this one and then we'll take a break. This one is another important one I don't think people think about. Don't hesitate to ask for what you need.
Right.
If you're employed by a company or organization that supports your work from home setup, request the information you need as soon as you start working from home or within a few days of realizing you need something new. This includes a monitor, keyboards, mouse, chair, desk, printers, whatever. And also, like, if you deal in this environment that's high technology and you're
Mhm.
dealing with things where you need a lot of bandwidth to
Mhm.
utilize, ask for the internet connection.
Right.
Ask for money for your internet or ask for them to pay for a separate interconnect connection into your home.
Right. And for people who have been working from home and now it's becoming long term, it's not a new thing, but it's still time to do all that and maybe reevaluate it on a regular basis because, like
Absolutely.
you said, things are constantly changing.
Yeah. I mean, even in my own business, um, we do these shows and we do all these kind of things. When I'm working from home, I have a separate internet connection that is paid
Mhm.
for because I cannot have the home line going down and all that kind of stuff
Right.
when I'm working at the same time. It's like, so, it's all these different things that we need to kind of like think about, and make sure that we have what we need and we're doing those things that we need, for ourselves to keep us, healthy, sane, well, like a holistic health thing. I mean, it's
Hmm.
really is an art. So
Right.
listen, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll have some final thoughts about this. I think we probably need to do another show on this. This is probably really cool
A
and from a
variation
different
of it.
end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
where the trends are going in all of our corporate worlds, right?
absolutely. I love it. I love it. So we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity, and I'll go to you, Sheila, for some final thoughts.
I'm thinking with the idea that most people have been in this for a couple of years now, and maybe looking at long term, to really evaluate or take time to make a list of things that you're missing. When we were in COVID,
Mm,
we didn't have social lives outside of the internet. So
yeah.
now we have that opportunity. Are you missing that camaraderie? Could you create community in another way? Kind of think about the things that you gave up moving to the home office,
Hmm.
and then see how you can fill them in a different way, because I really think we're at an apex where it's time to think out of the box, because we're creating something new for the entire world consciousness of how we move forward in our relationship to work. So go through, see the things you're missing, and see how far out of the box you can get to come out with new ways to create what you need and not have it be from the old paradigm.
I love that. I think I'll just kind of tag team you on that and just add, um, make sure that number one, that you focus on, like, or you write out how you want to feel when you're working from home, and really getting into that feeling and letting that feeling start to answer a lot of the questions that Sheila just brought up in terms of like, what are my needs? What are the needs that I have practically around, working from home? Do I need to kind of set up a space for myself? What kind of equipment do I need? What kind of boundaries and ground rules did I need to make with the other people who are in my house? If I have a younger kids, does that mean that I need to figure out a way of having them, either in the house with some supervision or away at like daycares or whatever during a
Mhm.
period of time? I mean, all those questions need to be kind of answered for yourself, but you don't really get to that until you really resonate with, what feeling do I want to have when I'm working from home? Also include things like, okay, how do I want to like connect with with coworkers, or colleagues as well? And you don't have to wait for your company to do that. You can do that
Mhm.
too and create that little social group for yourself. So that's
Nice.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're definitely going to do this one and do some more about this. Sheila, really excited about all the things that you're doing, including like your soul connection sessions. Why don't we talk a little bit about that, and then we can also talk about, what's coming up on June 3rd.
All right. So the soul connection sessions are one-on-one sessions with me via phone or Zoom. And they're designed for you, but we incorporate my ability as a spiritual seer, healer, and a therapist and a coach. And we kind of mix it all together and help you create exactly what you need to do to move forward with a deeper connection to your soul, your inner knowing, what you desire in life, and create that for yourself. And there is a discount for our Soulivity listeners and teams.
Woohoo!
The code is SOUL23, all capital letters, and you will have you'll get $44 off your first session with that code. And the 23 is a number. I just said it in a weird way. So you're not writing out 23. Capital letters soul and then 23.
And then you've got something fantastic coming up on June the 3rd, which I want to
Yes,
make sure that people know about.
we have our fractal illumination gathering. This is an energetic gathering that helps you to get an energy upgrade. There's so many changes going on in the world, both from our culture, from humanity, but also the world itself, the environment itself is changing. And so this is a energy technique that helps to upgrade your biofield and help you move through this adjustment, this shift much easier. And you can find out more about that by both of these by visiting SheilaApplegate.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, girl. This has been a great show.
It has.
Yeah. Listen, we only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm just going to say thanks for joining us for another edition of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast. You can listen Thursdays and Fridays at KMET 1490 a.m. at 9 a.m. Pacific time for all of you guys on the West Coast. Remember to follow us on social media. Go to Soulivity Magazine at YouTube, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get all kinds of alert. And so until next time, keep having real conversations and have a fantastic day. We'll see you next time. Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.